Welcome to our captivating story. A little girl approached a wealthy woman, handed her a drawing, and asked her to keep it, only to leave the woman stunned by what was written on the back. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and if you'd like to support us in creating more amazing content, please consider making a donation through the link in the pinned comment. Now, sit back and enjoy the story. Olivia Blackwell's heels clicked rhythmically against the polished marble floor of the upscale shopping mall. Her designer handbag swung gently at her side, filled with receipts from her latest shopping spree. As the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, Olivia was accustomed to the finer things in life. Her tailored suit and impeccable makeup screamed success and wealth. As she strode towards the exit, her mind preoccupied with her next board meeting, a small figure caught her attention from the corner of her eye. A little girl, no older than 7, stood near a potted plant, clutching a piece of paper to her chest. The child's worn sneakers and faded dress were a stark contrast to the luxury surrounding her. Olivia's first instinct was to keep walking. She had places to be, after all. But something about the girl's wide, hopeful eyes made her pause. The child took a hesitant step forward, her small hand extending the paper towards Olivia. "Excuse me, ma'am," the girl said in a soft voice. "Would you please keep this for me?" Taken aback, Olivia found herself accepting the folded paper. "What's this, sweetie?" she asked, her usual authoritative tone softening. The girl's eyes darted nervously around the mall. "It's important. Please don't look at it now. Wait until later, okay?" Before Olivia could respond, the girl turned and ran, disappearing into the crowd. Confused and slightly annoyed, Olivia tucked the paper into her purse and continued on her way. She had almost forgotten about the strange encounter by the time she reached her penthouse apartment that evening. As she emptied her purse, the folded paper fell onto her marble countertop. Curiosity got the better of her, and she carefully unfolded it. On one side was a child's drawing, stick figures of what appeared to be a family, a mom, a dad, and a little girl, all holding hands and smiling beneath a bright yellow sun. Olivia's heart warmed at the innocent artwork, but as she turned the paper over, her blood ran cold. Scrawled in a child's messy handwriting were the words, "Help me. My parents are going to sell me. Please call the police. My name is Lily." The paper slipped from Olivia's trembling fingers. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of what she had just read. Could this be real, or was it some kind of sick joke? The memory of the little girl's frightened eyes flashed in her mind, and Olivia knew in her gut that this was no prank. She snatched up her phone, her fingers hovering over the keypad. Should she call the police? What if she was overreacting? But what if the child was in real danger? The weight of the decision pressed down on her, and for the first time in years, Olivia Blackwell, the woman who made million-dollar decisions daily, felt utterly lost. As the gravity of the situation sank in, Olivia realized that her life was about to change forever. The lines between her world of privilege and the harsh realities faced by others were blurring, and she was being pulled into a story far more complex and heart-wrenching than she could have ever imagined. Olivia's hand trembled as she dialed 911. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage as if trying to escape. The operator's calm voice answered, 911, what's your emergency? I think a child is in danger, Olivia stammered, her usual confidence faltering. She explained the encounter at the mall and the message on the drawing, her words tumbling out in a rush. The operator assured her that officers would be dispatched immediately to investigate. Olivia gave them her address, agreeing to meet with the police to hand over the drawing and provide more details. As she waited, Olivia paced her luxurious apartment, the plush carpet muffling her footsteps. Her mind whirled with questions and doubts. Had she done the right thing? What if it was all a misunderstanding? But the image of the little girl's frightened eyes haunted her, affirming her decision. A knock at the door startled her from her thoughts. 2 officers, a man and a woman, stood in the hallway. Detective Sarah Chen introduced herself and her partner, Officer Mike Rodriguez. Their presence brought a mix of relief and anxiety to Olivia. As they sat in her living room, the opulent surroundings felt suddenly inappropriate given the gravity of the situation. Olivia handed over the drawing, watching as the detectives examined it with furrowed brows. "Missy Blackwell," Detective Chen began, her voice gentle but firm. "Can you describe the girl you met in more detail?" Olivia closed her eyes, trying to recall every detail. She was small, maybe 6 or 7, dark hair and pigtails, wearing a faded blue dress and scuffed sneakers. Her eyes, they were so big and scared. Officer Rodriguez jotted down notes as she spoke. "And you said her name is Lily." "That's what the note says," Olivia confirmed. "I didn't get her name at the mall." The detectives exchanged a glance that made Olivia's stomach churn. "What is it?" she asked, leaning forward. Detective Chen sighed. "We've been investigating a potential child trafficking ring in the city. This could be connected." The words hit Olivia like a physical blow. Child trafficking. In her city? It seemed impossible, like something out of a nightmare. "What happens now?" Olivia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "We'll launch an immediate investigation," Officer Rodriguez assured her. "We'll check security footage from the mall, put out an alert for the girl. But Miss Blackwell, we need to ask you something." Olivia nodded, bracing herself. "Would you be willing to assist us in this investigation?" Detective Chen asked. "Your encounter with Lily makes you a key witness, and frankly, your resources and connections could be invaluable." Olivia's mind reeled. She had board meetings, investor calls, a company to run. But the image of Lily's frightened face flashed before her eyes again, and she knew there was only one answer. "Yes," she said firmly. "Whatever you need." As the detectives prepared to leave, Olivia felt a shift within herself. The world she had known, insulated by wealth and power, was crumbling around her. She was stepping into unknown territory, a world where children like Lily lived in fear and danger lurked in the shadows. Detective Chen paused at the door. "Ms. Blackwell, I must warn you. This investigation could be dangerous. Are you sure you want to be involved?" Olivia straightened her shoulders, a determination settling over her. "I'm sure," she replied. "That little girl reached out to me for a reason. I won't let her down." As the door closed behind the detectives, Olivia stood alone in her vast apartment. The city lights twinkled beyond her windows, but now they seemed to hide dark secrets. She had always prided herself on her business acumen, her ability to navigate complex deals and corporate politics. But now, she was venturing into a world where the stakes were life and death, where a little girl's future hung in the balance. Olivia Blackwell, CEO and power player, was about to become something she never expected, a lifeline for a child in desperate need. And as she prepared for the journey ahead, she knew that nothing in her life would ever be the same again. The following morning, Olivia found herself in a nondescript conference room at the police station, a far cry from her usual sleek boardrooms. Detective Chen and Officer Rodriguez were joined by a team of investigators, their faces etched with determination and fatigue. "We've identified the girl," Detective Chen announced, sliding a photograph across the table. "Lily Thompson, age 7, reported missing 3 days ago by her teacher when she didn't show up for school." Olivia's breath caught as she stared at the photo. Lily's bright smile and twinkling eyes were a stark contrast to the frightened child she'd encountered at the mall. "What about her parents?" Olivia asked, her voice tight. Officer Rodriguez's expression darkened. "That's where it gets complicated. Lily's mother, Sandra Thompson, works as a housekeeper. The father, Jake Thompson, has been unemployed for months. They claim Lily ran away, but their story doesn't add up." As the detectives laid out the details of their investigation, Olivia felt her world tilting on its axis. The Thompsons lived in a rundown apartment complex on the outskirts of the city, an area Olivia had never even driven through. The contrast between Lily's life and her own was staggering. We believe the Thompsons may be involved with a trafficking ring, Detective Chen continued. But we need concrete evidence before we can move in. That's where you come in, Ms. Blackwell. Olivia straightened in her chair. What do you need me to do? The plan they outlined was risky and far outside Olivia's comfort zone. She would use her connections to infiltrate high society events where they suspected the trafficking ring operated under the guise of charity functions. Her task was to gather information, to listen for any hints or clues that might lead them to Lily and other potential victims. As Olivia left the police station, her head spinning with her new undercover role, she realized she needed to make some changes. Her usual designer outfits and flashy jewelry would draw too much attention in the areas she needed to investigate. She drove to a part of the city she'd never visited before, parking her luxury car in front of a small, second-hand clothing store. The bell jingled as she entered, and the shopkeeper looked up in surprise, clearly unaccustomed to customers in tailored suits. As Olivia browsed the racks of worn clothing, she overheard a conversation that made her pause. "Did you hear about little Lily?" An elderly woman whispered to the shopkeeper. "Such a sweet child. I can't believe she'd run away." "It's this neighborhood," the shopkeeper replied, shaking her head. "No opportunities, no hope. It's no place for a child." Olivia's hand tightened on the hanger she was holding. These women knew Lily, knew her family. She was tempted to question them but remembered her briefing. She couldn't risk blowing her cover. That night, as Olivia prepared for her first undercover event, she stared at her reflection in the mirror. Gone were the designer labels and perfect makeup. Instead, she wore a simple, second-hand dress and minimal jewelry. Her hair was pulled back into a modest bun. As she applied a light coat of lipstick, her phone buzzed with a text from Detective Chen. "New lead. Possible sighting of Lily near the docks. Be careful tonight." Olivia's heart raced. Somewhere out there, Lily was scared and alone, possibly in the hands of dangerous individuals. And here she was, about to step into a world she knew nothing about, armed with nothing but her wits and determination. She took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "I'm coming, Lily," she whispered to her reflection. Just hold on." As Olivia stepped out of her apartment, she felt as though she was leaving behind not just her familiar surroundings, but her entire identity. Olivia Blackwell, CEO, was gone. In her place stood a woman on a mission, willing to risk everything to save a child she barely knew. The city streets seemed different now, shadowy and full of secrets. As she hailed a taxi to take her to the charity event, Olivia's mind raced with possibilities and fears. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the ballroom, filled with the city's elite in their finest attire. Olivia felt exposed in her simple dress, but she reminded herself that blending in was crucial to her mission. She made her way to the bar, ordering a sparkling water and listening intently to the conversations around her. Most were mundane chatter about business deals and social gossip, but Olivia remained vigilant for any hint of something more sinister. "Olivia? Olivia Blackwell, is that you?" a voice called out. Olivia turned to see Charles Worthington III, a fellow CEO and frequent attendee at these events. His eyes widened as he took in her appearance. "My dear, what happened to you? You look different." Olivia's mind raced. She hadn't prepared for running into someone who knew her. "Charles," she said, forcing a smile. "Yes, I'm trying out a new look. Sometimes it's good to step out of our comfort zones, don't you think?" Charles looked skeptical but nodded. "I suppose, though I must say I prefer the old Olivia. Speaking of which, I haven't seen you at the club lately. We've missed you at our special gatherings." Something in his tone made Olivia's skin crawl. She leaned in, lowering her voice. "Oh, and what makes these gatherings so special?" Charles glanced around before whispering, "Let's just say we cater to some very specific tastes, the kind that require the utmost discretion." Olivia's heart pounded. Could this be related to the trafficking ring? She was about to probe further when a commotion near the entrance caught everyone's attention. A woman in tattered clothing had burst into the ballroom, her eyes wild and desperate. "Please," she cried out. "Has anyone seen my daughter? Her name is Lily." Olivia froze. It was Sandra Thompson, Lily's mother. Security guards quickly surrounded Sandra, trying to usher her out. The woman's anguished cries echoed through the ballroom. "She's just a little girl. Please, someone must know something." As Sandra was dragged away, Olivia caught sight of a man watching the scene with an unsettling smirk. He was impeccably dressed, but there was a coldness in his eyes that sent a chill down Olivia's spine. The man turned, meeting Olivia's gaze. For a moment, they stared at each other, and Olivia felt as though she was looking into the face of pure evil. Then he smiled, raised his champagne glass in a mock toast, and disappeared into the crowd. Olivia's instincts screamed at her to follow him, but she remembered her training. Don't blow your cover. Gather information. She turned back to Charles, who was shaking his head at the scene. "How dreadful," he muttered. "These people should know better than to disturb our events." Olivia swallowed her disgust. "Indeed," she said, keeping her voice level. "Tell me more about these special gatherings, Charles. I find myself curious." As Charles began to speak, Olivia listened intently, all the while aware that she was walking a dangerous line. One wrong move could not only blow her cover but potentially put Lily in even greater danger. The evening wore on, a surreal blend of champagne flutes and coded conversations. Olivia gathered snippets of information, each more disturbing than the last. There were whispers of auctions, of private islands, of children treated as commodities. As the gala began to wind down, Olivia slipped away to the restroom. Her hands shook as she sent an encrypted message to Detective Chen, relaying what she had learned. The response came swiftly. "Good work. Get out now. We'll take it from here." Olivia stepped out of the restroom, ready to make her exit, when a hand gripped her arm. She turned to find herself face to face with the cold-eyed man from earlier. "Ms. Blackwell," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "I don't believe we've been properly introduced. I'm Marcus Steele. I couldn't help but notice your interest in our little world. Perhaps you'd like a closer look." Olivia's mouth went dry. She was trapped between maintaining her cover and potentially walking into a lion's den. As she opened her mouth to respond, a scream pierced the air. She wrenched her arm free and plunged into the crowd, her eyes fixed on the spot where she had seen the small figure disappear. As she raced through the opulent hallways, Olivia realized that her life had irrevocably changed. There was no going back to boardrooms and balance sheets. She was now in a race against time, with a child's life hanging in the balance. The sound of small, running footsteps echoed ahead of her. Olivia pushed herself harder, her borrowed dress tearing as she ran. She was no longer Olivia Blackwell, CEO. She was a woman on a mission, driven by a force she didn't fully understand but couldn't ignore. As she burst through the exit doors into the cool night air, Olivia's world was about to collide with Lily's in a way that would change both their lives forever. The cool night air hit Olivia's face as she burst out of the building. Her eyes darted frantically, searching for any sign of the small figure she'd glimpsed inside. The street was a chaos of honking cars and startled pedestrians, but then she caught a flash of movement down a narrow alley. Without hesitation, Olivia plunged into the darkness, her heels echoing off the brick walls. Her heart pounded in her ears as she ran, driven by a mixture of fear and hope. "Lily!" she called out, her voice cracking. "Lily, it's okay. I'm here to help." A small whimper from behind a dumpster made Olivia skid to a stop. She approached slowly, hands raised to show she meant no harm. "Lily," she said softly. "Is that you?" A pair of wide, frightened eyes peered out at her. It was indeed Lily, but the girl looked even more haggard than when Olivia had first seen her. Her dress was torn, her face smudged with dirt and tears. "You're the lady from the mall," Lily whispered, her voice trembling. Did you read my note?" Olivia nodded, crouching down to Lily's level. "I did, sweetie. I'm here to help you, but we need to move quickly. There are bad people looking for you." As if on cue, shouts echoed from the mouth of the alley. Olivia's blood ran cold as she recognized Marcus Steele's voice among them. "Come on," Olivia urged, holding out her hand to Lily. "We need to go. Now." Lily hesitated for a moment, then grabbed Olivia's hand. Together, they ran deeper into the maze of back alleys, the sounds of pursuit growing closer behind them. Olivia's mind raced as they ran. She needed to get Lily to safety. But where? The police station was too far, and she couldn't trust that there weren't corrupt officers involved. Her penthouse was out of the question. It would be the first place they'd look. As they turned a corner, Olivia nearly collided with a homeless man huddled in a doorway. An idea struck her. "Excuse me," she panted. "Is there a shelter nearby, somewhere safe?" The man eyed them warily, then nodded towards the end of the alley. "2 blocks down, place called Hope Haven. Tell him Big Mike sent you." Olivia murmured a quick thanks, then urged Lily onward. The girl was tiring, her small legs struggling to keep up. Without breaking stride, Olivia scooped Lily into her arms and pressed on. The shouts behind them were growing louder. Olivia's lungs burned. Her arms ached, but she refused to slow down. Lily clung to her neck, face buried in her shoulder. Finally, a nondescript building with a small sign reading Hope Haven came into view. Olivia rushed through the doors, startling the woman at the front desk. "Please," Olivia gasped, setting Lily down but keeping a protective arm around her. "We need help. Big Mike sent us." The woman's eyes widened at the mention of Big Mike. She quickly ushered them through a back door, just as angry voices could be heard entering the shelter's front room. They found themselves in a small, windowless room filled with supplies. The woman, who introduced herself as Maria, looked at them with concern. "What's going on? Who's after you?" Olivia took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. "It's a long story, but this girl is in danger. We need to contact the police, but only Detective Sarah Chen, no one else." As Maria left to make the call, Olivia turned her attention to Lily. The girl was shaking, her eyes darting fearfully around the room. Olivia knelt beside her, gently taking her small hands. "Lily," she said softly, "you're so brave. Can you tell me what happened? How did you end up at that party?" Lily's lower lip trembled as she spoke. They said they were taking me to see Mommy, but they lied. They put me in a dark room with other kids. We were so scared." Olivia's heart broke as Lily continued, describing how she had managed to slip away during the confusion of the gala, hoping to find help. As the girl spoke, Olivia's resolve strengthened. She would do whatever it took to keep Lily safe and to bring down the monsters responsible for this. A soft knock at the door made them both jump. Maria entered, her face grave. "I've contacted Detective Chen. She's on her way." But she hesitated, glancing at Lily. "What is it?" Olivia pressed. Maria lowered her voice. "There are men outside. They're demanding we turn you over. They claim to be police, but something doesn't feel right." Olivia's mind raced. They were trapped, with unknown forces closing in and help still minutes away. She looked at Lily's terrified face, then back at Maria. In that moment, Olivia Blackwell made a decision that would alter the course of her life forever. "Is there another way out of here?" she asked Maria, her voice steely with determination. Maria nodded slowly. "There's a tunnel. It was used during Prohibition. It leads to an abandoned warehouse 2 blocks over." Olivia stood, gathering Lily in her arms once more. "Show us." As Maria led them to a hidden trapdoor, Olivia whispered reassurances to Lily. But inside, she was grappling with the realization that from this moment on, she was no longer just a wealthy CEO playing at being a hero. She was now a fugitive, responsible for the life of a child. hunted by forces she barely understood. The trapdoor creaked open, revealing a dark, damp tunnel. Olivia took a deep breath, tightened her hold on Lily, and stepped into the unknown. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but there was no turning back now. For better or worse, their fates were intertwined. The tunnel was a maze of twists and turns, the air thick with the musty scent of decades past. Olivia's designer shoes, now caked with mud, squelched with each step. Lily clung to her hand, her small fingers trembling in Olivia's grasp. "Are the bad people going to find us?" Lily whispered, her voice echoing softly off the damp walls. Olivia squeezed her hand reassuringly. "No, sweetheart. We're going to stay safe. I promise." As they navigated the darkness, guided only by the weak beam of Olivia's cell phone flashlight, her mind raced. What would happen when they emerged? Where could they go that was truly safe? After what felt like hours, they reached a rusted ladder leading up to a trapdoor. Olivia lifted Lily, helping her climb first, then followed close behind. They emerged into a cavernous, abandoned warehouse, moonlight filtering through broken windows. "Now what?" Lily asked, her eyes wide as she took in their surroundings. Before Olivia could respond, a voice called out from the shadows. "You look like you could use some help." Olivia instinctively pushed Lily behind her, ready to run. But the figure that stepped into the moonlight wasn't the threat she expected. It was an elderly woman, her silver hair tied back in a neat bun, her eyes kind but sharp. "I'm Esther," the woman said, "and you must be the ones Maria called about." Olivia blinked in surprise. "You know Maria?" Esther nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Welcome to the underground. We've been expecting you." Over the next hour, as they followed Esther through a series of hidden passages and safe houses, Olivia learned about a network she never knew existed. The underground, as they called themselves, was a group of ordinary citizens from all walks of life, united in their mission to protect the vulnerable from those who would exploit them. They arrived at a nondescript apartment building. Inside, they were greeted by a diverse group of people: a young computer whiz, a former boxer turned social worker, a retired librarian. Each played a role in the intricate web of the underground. As Lily was taken to get cleaned up and fed, Esther sat Olivia down for a serious conversation. "You've stumbled into something bigger and darker than you can imagine," Esther said, her voice grave. "The people after Lily? They're just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking about a network that spans the globe, with tendrils reaching into the highest levels of power." Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. "What can we do?" Esther leaned forward, her eyes intense. "That depends. Are you ready to leave your old life behind? Because once you're truly in, there's no going back." The weight of the decision pressed down on Olivia. Her company, her wealth, her entire identity. Was she ready to give it all up for a cause she barely understood? For a child she barely knew? But then she thought of Lily's terrified eyes, of the other children still trapped in that dark room. She thought of the smirking face of Marcus Steele and the casual cruelty of the elite at the gala. "I'm in," Olivia said, her voice firm. "Whatever it takes." Esther nodded, a mix of approval and sadness in her eyes. "Then let's begin. First, we need to get you and Lily new identities. You'll need to disappear." As the underground members sprang into action, creating new papers and backstories, Olivia's phone buzzed. It was a text from Detective Chen. "Where are you? It's not safe. Trust no one." Olivia stared at the message, her finger hovering over the reply button. Could she trust Chen? Could she trust anyone? A small hand slipped into hers. Lily stood beside her, clean and fed, looking up at her with trust and hope. In that moment, Olivia made her choice. She turned off the phone and handed it to Esther. "What do we do next?" she asked. Esther's expression was grim but determined. "We fight back. We expose the truth, no matter the cost." As the night wore on, Olivia found herself in a crash course on the inner workings of the underground. She learned about safe houses, coded communications, and the vast network of allies spread throughout the city and beyond. But even as she absorbed this new world, a part of her wondered, had she made the right choice? Was she truly ready for the dangers and sacrifices that lay ahead? As dawn broke, casting long shadows across the apartment, Olivia looked at Lily, peacefully asleep on a worn couch. She thought of the life she was leaving behind, the boardrooms, the galas, the luxury, and she realized that for the first time in years, she felt truly alive. The road ahead was uncertain and fraught with danger, but Olivia Blackwell, or whatever her name would be now, was ready to face it. For Lily, for justice, and for a chance to make a real difference in the world. Little did she know, the greatest challenges and the most shocking revelations were yet to come. As weeks turned into months, Olivia, now going by the name Sarah Collins, settled into her new life within the underground. She and Lily, whose new identity was Emma, moved from safe house to safe house, always staying one step ahead of those hunting them. Olivia's business acumen proved invaluable to the underground. She helped streamline their operations, secure funding through anonymous donations, and create a network of legitimate front businesses to support their work. But the transition wasn't easy. There were nights when she lay awake, haunted by the life she'd left behind and the enormity of the fight ahead. One rainy afternoon, as Olivia pored over financial records in a cramped apartment that served as their current hideout, Esther burst in, her face pale. "We've got a problem," she said, her voice tight. "One of our safe houses was compromised. 3 children and 2 of our operatives were taken." Olivia's blood ran cold. "How? We were so careful." Esther's eyes were hard. "We have a mole. Someone high up in the underground is working for them." The revelation sent shockwaves through the organization. Trust, already a precious commodity, became even rarer. Olivia found herself second-guessing every interaction, every piece of information. As they worked tirelessly to locate the missing children and operatives, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something crucial. The pieces of the puzzle were there, but they weren't fitting together. Late one night, as she stared at a wall covered in photos and strings connecting various players in the trafficking ring, something clicked. She called Esther and the core team for an emergency meeting. "I think I know why they're always one step ahead," Olivia said, her voice shaking slightly. "It's not just that they have a mole. They have access to information they shouldn't, information only a handful of people would know." She took a deep breath before continuing. "I think Detective Chen is involved." The room erupted in disbelief and anger. Chen had been their primary contact in law enforcement, their beacon of hope in a corrupt system. "Think about it," Olivia pressed on. She always knew exactly where to look, which leads to follow. But what if she was using that information to protect the ring, not expose it? As the team debated furiously, Lily, or Emma as she was now known, slipped into the room. "Is it about my parents?" she asked quietly. The room fell silent. In the chaos of the past months, the question of Lily's parents' involvement had been pushed to the background. Now it came rushing back to the forefront. Olivia knelt beside the girl. "Emma, sweetheart, what do you remember about the night you were taken?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. I heard Mom and Dad arguing. Dad said they had no choice, that they would hurt us if they didn't cooperate. Mom was crying. Then a man came. He was nice at first, but his eyes were cold." As Lily spoke, the final pieces of the puzzle fell into place. Olivia realized with horror that the trafficking ring's reach was far greater than they had imagined. It wasn't just the elite and the corrupt officials. It preyed on the desperate and the vulnerable, forcing parents to make unthinkable choices. The revelation changed everything. Their fight was no longer just against a criminal organization, but against a system that created the conditions for such evil to thrive. As the team grappled with this new understanding, An alert came through on their secure communication channel. One of their operatives had managed to plant a bug in Marcus Steele's office. They had 24 hours before a major shipment of children was due to leave the country. Olivia looked around the room, at the faces of those who had become her new family. She thought of the children they'd saved, and those they had yet to reach. She thought of Lily's parents, and all the others forced into impossible situations. "We have one chance," she said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "We take down Steele, we expose Chen, we blow this whole operation wide open, but it's going to be dangerous. We might not all make it." The room was silent for a moment. Then, one by one, they nodded. They were in, whatever the cost. As they began to plan their most daring operation yet, Olivia felt a tug on her sleeve. Lily looked up at her, eyes shining with a mixture of fear and determination. "I want to help," she said. "I want to save the other kids." Olivia's heart swelled with pride and ached with worry. She pulled Lily into a tight hug, knowing that the girl's courage might be the key to bringing down the entire network. As dawn broke, casting a pale light over the city, Olivia and her team prepared for battle. They were outnumbered and outgunned, facing an enemy with seemingly limitless resources. But they had something their opponents didn't: the fierce, unyielding hope that comes from fighting for what's right. The plan was set in motion as dusk fell over the city. Olivia, dressed in the designer clothes of her former life, made her way to an exclusive club where Marcus Steele was known to conduct business. Her heart raced as she passed through security, praying her hastily reconstructed identity would hold up under scrutiny. Meanwhile, other members of the underground were in position. Some were monitoring police channels, ready to intercept any calls for backup. Others were preparing to raid the warehouse where they believed the children were being held. Lily, despite Olivia's initial reluctance, played a crucial role. She was safely hidden in a van outside the club, ready to identify voices and provide crucial information through a hidden earpiece Olivia wore. As Olivia entered the dimly lit VIP area, she spotted Steele immediately. He was surrounded by the city's elite, laughing and drinking as if they didn't have a care in the world. The sight made her stomach turn. "Mr. Steele," she said, approaching with a confidence she didn't feel. "I believe we have some business to discuss." Steele's eyes narrowed as he took her in. "Ms. Blackwell, I must say this is a surprise. We thought you'd disappeared." "Let's just say I've had a change of heart about certain investments," Olivia replied smoothly. "Perhaps we could speak privately." As Steele led her to a secluded booth, Olivia's earpiece crackled to life. Lily's frightened whisper came through. "That's him, the man with the cold eyes." Olivia's resolve strengthened. She was in the right place. Their conversation was a delicate dance of coded language and veiled threats. Olivia played the role of a corrupt businesswoman looking to expand her portfolio into more exotic markets. All the while, she was gathering evidence, getting Steele to incriminate himself on the hidden recording device she wore. Just as she thought she was making progress, a commotion erupted at the entrance. Detective Chen burst in, flanked by uniformed officers. "NYPD, nobody move!" Chen shouted, her eyes scanning the room until they locked on Olivia. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Olivia saw the recognition in Chen's eyes, followed by something else, fear. Then all hell broke loose. Steele's security team sprang into action, guns drawn. The club's patrons screamed and dove for cover. In the chaos, Olivia saw Steele slipping away towards a back exit. Without thinking, she gave chase. She couldn't let him escape, not when they were so close. She followed him down a service corridor and up a flight of stairs, emerging onto the roof. The cool night air hit her face as she saw Steele running towards a waiting helicopter. "Stop!" she yelled, her voice nearly drowned out by the chopper's blades. Steele turned, a cruel smile on his face. "You just couldn't leave well enough alone, could you, Miss Blackwell?" he shouted over the noise. "You had no idea what you were getting into." As he reached for the helicopter's door, a small figure darted out from behind an air conditioning unit. Lily, who must have followed them in the confusion, launched herself at Steele, clinging to his leg. "No!" Olivia screamed, running towards them. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Steele, enraged, tried to shake Lily off. The girl's grip slipped, and she stumbled backwards, perilously close to the roof's edge. Olivia dove, her fingers grasping Lily's shirt, just as the girl's feet left the roof. For a heart-stopping moment, they teetered on the brink, Olivia's other hand scrabbling for purchase on the rough rooftop. Then, strong hands grasped Olivia's shoulders, pulling them both to safety. She looked up to see Detective Chen, her face a mask of determination. "I'm so sorry," Chen gasped. "I never wanted. I didn't know how deep it went." As sirens wailed in the distance and the helicopter lifted off without Steele, who was now subdued and handcuffed, the truth came pouring out. Chen had been blackmailed into cooperation, her family threatened. But seeing Olivia's determination, Lily's bravery, had given her the courage to finally take a stand. As dawn broke over the city, the full scope of their victory became clear. The raid on the warehouse had been successful, dozens of children rescued. Steele's arrest led to a domino effect, bringing down corrupt officials and businessmen across the city. But as Olivia held a trembling Lily in her arms, surrounded by the brave members of the underground, she knew their fight was far from over. They had won a battle, but the war against exploitation and trafficking would continue. Looking out over the awakening city, Olivia made a silent vow. She would dedicate her life to this cause, to protecting the vulnerable and bringing light to the darkest corners of society. As if reading her thoughts, Lily looked up at her, eyes shining with a mixture of tears and hope. "We did it," she whispered. "We really did it." Olivia hugged her tighter, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, we did, and we'll keep doing it, for as long as it takes." The road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges. But in that moment, bathed in the golden light of a new day, hope seemed infinite. The weeks following the takedown of Marcus Steele's operation were a whirlwind of activity. As the full extent of the trafficking ring was revealed, shockwaves rippled through the city and beyond. High-profile arrests were made daily, and the media frenzy was unprecedented. Olivia, still operating under her alias of Sarah Collins, found herself in a unique position. Her intimate knowledge of both the corporate world and the underground made her an invaluable asset in dismantling the remaining networks. Working closely with reformed Detective Chen and a task force of trusted officials, she helped connect the dots that had eluded law enforcement for years. Lily, now officially under Olivia's guardianship, was slowly healing from her trauma, with the help of counselors specializing in child trafficking survivors. She was beginning to reclaim her childhood. Her bravery in the final confrontation had inspired many, and she became a symbol of hope for other rescued children. The underground, no longer forced to operate entirely in the shadows, evolved. While maintaining necessary secrecy, they began to work more openly with vetted organizations and government agencies. Olivia's business acumen proved crucial in establishing legitimate fronts and securing funding for their expanded operations. One crisp autumn morning, as Olivia and Lily walked through a park hand in hand, they encountered a familiar face. Esther, the elderly woman who had first welcomed them into the underground, sat feeding pigeons on a bench. "I wondered when I'd see you two again," Esther said with a warm smile. "You've been busy." Olivia sat beside her, Lily perching on her lap. "We couldn't have done any of it without you, without the foundation you built." Esther's eyes twinkled. "Oh, I think you would have found a way. You're fighters, both of you." She turned serious. "But the fight's far from over, you know." Olivia nodded. "We know. Every day we uncover more. It's overwhelming sometimes." "That's why I'm here," Esther said. "We're expanding, setting up operations in other cities, other countries. We need someone to lead the charge, someone who understands both worlds." Olivia felt a familiar mix of excitement and trepidation. "You mean, we want you to take over?" Esther confirmed. "To be the new face of the underground. It won't be easy. You'll be making powerful enemies. But you'll also be changing lives, saving children, making a real difference." Lily tugged on Olivia's sleeve. "Can we do it? Can we help more kids like me?" Olivia looked from Lily's hopeful face to Esther's knowing one. She thought of how far they'd come, of the lives they'd already changed. She thought of the children still out there, waiting to be saved. "Yes," she said, her voice firm. "Yes, we can." As they left the park, plans already forming, Olivia felt a sense of purpose stronger than anything she'd known in her old life. The path ahead would be challenging, dangerous even, but with Lily by her side and the strength of the underground behind her, she was ready to face whatever came. The sun broke through the clouds, bathing the city in golden light. For Olivia and Lily, it wasn't just a new day. It was the dawn of a new era, one they would shape together. As they walked home, Lily skipping alongside her, Olivia allowed herself a moment of reflection. From corporate shark to fugitive to leader of an international anti-trafficking organization, it had been an unimaginable journey. But looking at Lily's smiling face, she knew she wouldn't change a thing. The adventure wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But whatever challenges lay ahead, Olivia knew one thing for certain. They would face them together, bound by a love and purpose stronger than any force that might stand against them. 5 years had passed since Olivia took the helm of the underground. The organization had grown beyond anything she could have imagined, with networks spanning across continents. What began as a local resistance had blossomed into a global movement, tackling human trafficking, corruption, and systemic exploitation on an unprecedented scale. Olivia, now known publicly as Sarah Collins, had become a powerful advocate on the world stage. Her testimony before the United Nations had led to groundbreaking international cooperation in fighting human trafficking. The woman who once moved millions with business deals now moved nations with her words and actions. Lily, now a teenager, had grown into a remarkable young woman. Her experiences had forged her into a fierce and compassionate advocate for children's rights. She worked tirelessly alongside Olivia, sharing her story and inspiring others to join their cause. On a warm summer evening, Olivia and Lily stood on the balcony of their apartment, overlooking the city they had transformed. The skyline was dotted with buildings that now housed rehabilitation centers, legal clinics, and safe houses, a visible testament to their work. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Lily asked, leaning against the railing. Olivia smiled, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Sometimes I think about it. The money, the power, but then I remember what it was all hiding. This life, with you, doing what we do, it's worth more than all the wealth I had before." Their moment of reflection was interrupted by an urgent call. A major operation was underway in Southeast Asia, and they were needed to coordinate logistics. As they rushed to the command center, Olivia marveled at how seamlessly their personal and professional lives had intertwined. The underground was more than an organization. It was their family, their purpose. The operation was a success, resulting in the rescue of over 100 children and the arrest of key players in a transnational trafficking ring. As the news came in, cheers erupted throughout the command center. Olivia caught Lily's eye across the room, seeing her own mix of exhaustion and elation mirrored there. Later that night, as the adrenaline wore off, Olivia found herself back on the balcony. She thought about the lives they'd saved, the systems they'd changed, but she also thought about the work still to be done, the children still waiting to be rescued. Lily joined her, a steaming mug of tea in each hand. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked, handing Olivia a mug. "I was just thinking about legacy," Olivia replied. "About what we'll leave behind." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "I've been thinking about that too, about starting a mentorship program for survivors, helping them become advocates themselves." Olivia felt a surge of pride. "That's a wonderful idea. You know, when I first took you in, I thought I was saving you. But the truth is, you saved me. You gave me purpose, showed me what really matters." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city below. Olivia thought about the journey that had brought them here, the dangers they'd faced, the sacrifices they'd made, the lives they'd changed. She thought about Esther, about Detective Chen, about all the people who had become part of their extended family. "We've come so far," Lily murmured, echoing Olivia's thoughts. "But there's still so much to do." Olivia squeezed her shoulder. "And we'll do it together. This is our life's work now." As the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Olivia felt a deep sense of peace. The path ahead was still challenging, the fight far from over. But they had built something powerful, something that would outlast them. Their legacy wasn't just in the lives they'd saved or the laws they'd changed. It was in the movement they'd created, the torch they would pass on to the next generation of fighters and advocates. Olivia Blackwell had died the night she fled into the tunnels with a frightened little girl. But Sarah Collins, protector, advocate, mother, had been born. And with Lily by her side, she was ready to face whatever the future held. As they turned to go back inside, ready to plan their next mission, Olivia knew that this purpose, this love, this endless fight for justice, was the greatest adventure of all.